Hello and welcome. Today we are balancing the powers between three arms of government, and the NCCE today held a very important forum with very distinguished men of Ghana sitting out in jaw-jawing between how do we get the three arms of government talk to each other, and most importantly that none of the arms abuse their powers given to them. Now this is a question that's been on the lips of many people. President has got too much powers. Parliament is a one-sided affair. It's just a rubber stamp, and we hear it every day. However, it's a system that we have created, and it's nobody's fault. So even if I was given power, I would just do what the status quo says. Should we all go back now to the drawing board and change the picture? But the NCC itself has had a bit of bad mouth, bad press. They're never there when there's elections, when there's so many voting cards going wrong, and they haven't educated us as to how we vote. They are here with me in the studio to answer their questions. When I come back, I will introduce my guest. My name is Nana Sakwa the Fourth, and this is PM Express. Thank you for staying tuned. And as I said, today we are balancing the powers between the three arms of government, make sure that there's equity at play on all levels. Now, as it says on paper, is it so in real life? By the end of the show, we would find out. But with me from my immediate left is Mrs. Joyce Afutu, who's a Director of Communication and Corporate Affairs at the NCCE. Welcome, Joyce. And I hope this is not going to be the first time. Once you come, I'm going to register in the membership book. And then to my far left is Samuel Akuamwa, Director of Programs at NCCE and Director of Programs. We need him here today. Samuel, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I wanted to go to the program, but before I do that, the NCCE, most of the times you listen to the radio and anything goes wrong with regards to rural folk and not being educated on a particular matter. Where was the NCC? That was their job. They should be in there educating people, but we don't see you guys. I don't know, I think communication, Auntie Joyce, you would do that for us. You're never there educating the rural folk as to how to become a civil Ghanaian or civil citizen. You're never there.
We are there.
But I think the complaint is that your presence is not felt, and even when ballot boxes or ballot papers go wrong, you're blamed for it. Is there an explanation to why we don't see you there?
Yeah, we are there, but people claim they always not see us. As we have said, the NCCE, we are in all the districts across the country. All the 10 regions, we have offices there, and then we have the national office in Accra. Okay. So whatever program we do, we replicate it across the country. So the issue of maybe the sport ballots, people say NCCE, anything is going wrong, they say NCCE. There are some issues that are technical. For instance, during the Ebola and cholera education, you realize it borders on public health. And we must seek technical assistance from the health institutions before we can even disseminate any information out there. And we collaborated with them, and we had information to our district offices so that they can also educate the public. In the same vein, if you look at our core mandate, we don't run elections in this country. I mean, we educate people to be civic-minded and to assume their roles as good citizens of this country. So we also get information from the Electoral Commission, and we disseminate it out there. And on elections, we always do voter education as well, and then we teach people how to vote. But anytime we have elections, we have this spoiled ballot, we have rejected ballots. As we are talking, we'll talk at length. There are differences. Sometimes we bulk all of them together and we say they are all rejected ballots. Actually, when you go to the polling station, there are different types of the ballot papers. Some are spoiled, some are rejected because they have marks and they were changed, some were not stamped and all that. All these things, they put them together, and the final result, they say rejected ballots. And actually, what constitutes a spoiled ballot, the NCC cannot determine. It's the EC that will determine and also will disseminate the information. So that is how we do education. As we educate the people to be civic-minded, we engage them on their rights and their responsibilities so that they can also assume the roles as responsible citizens. We do that, and then we add other issues to it to make sure that anything bordering education, we educate Ghanaians.
Let me bring Samuel in here because programs. I mean, to educate on any particular issue, the least you need is 275 pickups, because that's how much districts we have. So the minimum number of cars you need
216.
is 216
In
now.
the constituency, we have 275.
Oh, constituency 275, and districts are 216. So
yeah,
okay, so let me take some of the cars off. So now 216 pickups with a good microphone and probably a projector to show a movie. So how many pickups do you have to say that yes, we have those cars and we can reach every district and do our education? And that's not even enough, because I'm not thinking even one car per district will be enough. But I'm just paying you that 216.
Thank you, Nana. Thank you. And good evening to our viewers. I believe that your question is relevant, though, but I'm not going to go to it directly.
Okay.
Because the matter is overflowed. And sometimes when we want to be very frank with the public, they play on our frankness to weaken the commission. Mm-hmm. And this is a state institution which is so important that if we don't keep it and it slips through our hands, we are going to be in trouble. We haven't interrogated, or we have not investigated the core reasons why this constitution has succeeded. We have had previous ones that have been aborted. This one has succeeded. Why? You see, the NCC, I can't say is well resourced, but I can't say we are poorly resourced, because we have a human capacity that is always available for work. And our salaries have never been in arrears. And we are a mass organization. We are not a centralized, excuse me to say, Accra-based organization that will do a fanfare and blow it up in the media. No, we are a grassroots organization. We have field officers in the field who do daily civic education. But the point is that we need a certain partnership with our communities, with the citizenry, to be able to succeed. It is not about vehicles per se. It is about a very good partnership with the communities, building synergies with existing institutions that also have similar mandates to be able to overcome the perception that the NCC is not doing its work. I believe you if I mention certain communities in the countryside where our men are constantly running through very dangerous forests, swimming across dangerous rivers to go to the other side to do civic education, you won't believe it. But I believe multimedia, you need to be commended. Maybe you need to take us another step by coming with us into the field to see what we do in the jungles. Because if we sit in the air condition in the big towns, and that is what you think is civic education, they will fail this nation. So, Nana, it's not about the pickups. And I don't think I can think about the number of pickups we have. I can't. But we need a very good collaboration, because civic education is a shared responsibility. And everybody must play their roles, from the family to the school to the institutions, to you, Nananum. Then the commission will be a coordinating body that will bring out, that will churn out the results.
So let me stay with you. You see, I've always heard, oh, in Nkrumah's days, at the time, even though I wasn't quite there, it seems as if the public trusted the NCC, or there was a bond. At which point did we break? Because there's a gap between maybe, I don't know if I would say the elite or the learned and the NCCE today. I rarely hear a good word from any radio commentator saying, oh, the NCC did well. Oh, it's always, they are not there, they are not doing anything. So at which point did we lose that trust between citizen and...
Yes, Nana. I think that the issue of trust sometimes also borders on the mind, the mindset. We have a section of our population who may conceive or who may perceive the NCC as a competitor in the field of civic education, right? Okay. A certain agenda has been set, and let's get a very respectable, a well-learned person in this country to set the agenda that multimedia is bad, and let's see how it goes. That is what has happened to the NCC in the past. If you go to the history of establishment up to today, we have been bashed by people from the top to the center to right, left, okay? Just because, let me tell you, at some point, we were even branded as partisan, belonging to one side. Then that same group that we were accused of being, at another time, we were also, so you find out that, so sometimes, even when it comes to our staff, doing their work independently, professionally, without being partisan, and we want to put them on the scales, and they don't, succeed, or they don't pass, and we want to fire them, you see that we get them across the political divide. So we are independent. But until we get people to take off from their minds that the NCC is a competitor who is going to make them more successful in whatever they do, we will always have that problem. And nobody will be, we will not get everybody to be satisfied with what we do, because we have a broad mandate, and that is one of the problems. We have a broad mandate. Mrs. Afutu mentioned the fact that voter education is not our core mandate. Yes. Yesterday, somebody was on one of the TV networks, lambasting NCC, that we should all resign because we have not done our work, and that rejected ballot is on the increase. Is that our job? Go to Article 45D. It's not our job. It's a core mandate of another institution, and that institution must collaborate with that. In 2008, we collaborated with the Electoral Commission. When, during the runoff, you saw the number of spoiled ballots, and when we came in and we collaborated with the Electoral Commission, we reduced the number. You need the technical information to be able to go out there and do the job. If you don't have the curriculum and you are a student, how do you study and pass your exam? We will go there and cause mayhem. If we don't have the information, we are not part of the system, we are not part of the planning, and we don't have, and we are not on top of it, and we go into it, we will fail. So the institutions that have the core mandate, we need to work together. Now we have an Electoral Commission that is getting closer and closer to the NCC. We are deepening the kind of partnership that in the past was not there. We are seeing a closer partnership now. And we believe we are going to do a better job. Once we are given the curriculum, we are involved in the planning, and then we can give our field officers the capacity. I'm thinking about my illiterate mother, who is 90 years in my village. I'm thinking about how she will go and vote rightly. Okay? Because I know, Nana, you will not go and spoil your ballot. But sometimes it even happens to you. Okay? So the work is a big one that will not be done by only NCC. It's a shared responsibility.
Shared responsibility, and I think it comes directly to your office, communication and corporate affairs. What can we do, or what can the NCC do to bring back or win back the trust of the people again? So that people say, oh, the NCC was, we know they will sort it out for us.
Yes. It's all continuous education with the help of all stakeholders, with you as an institution. I think when you started, you even asked at NCC, people say we are not there. And as I said, we have district offices, they work, we have regional offices, we have national office, which is in Accra. Even today, the program we held today, people are on social media attacking us that instead of us to go to the field and go and work, we are sitting in Accra and talking.
We'll come to
Yes. So that is it. Whatever we do, people have issues about it.
The program today, let's talk about the program today. Now we know the position of the NCC, and it was balancing powers between the three arms of government. It's a conversation that's gone around every dining table, every newsroom. It's always a problem with one arm having too much powers. Now, let me start with you, Sami. So, first of all, what was the purpose for the gathering?
Yes, Nana, you have even started it. The purpose was to go back and examine the operations of the three arms of government, mainly the executive, headed by the president, the legislature as parliament, the judiciary, to see whether in theory, we all learned that in theory, these three arms of government must be separated. It's a principle of separation of powers, non-interference of the work of any of them by the other. Now, the purpose of today's debate was to find out whether that principle which exists in theory, in practice, is the same. And if it's not the same, why? Why is it so? And what do we do to make it work better? Is it systemic? Is one arm wielding too much power? Is one arm intimidated by the other and therefore affecting our progress as a country? So that together we all talk about it, set an agenda for national discourse, and then this at a level where, we deal with a certain class of people, so that from there now we take it down to the ordinary people. The kind of understanding that we get becomes an agenda for further discussion down there, so that we will all appreciate the work each arm of the government has to do. So that anytime somebody is doing something, the citizenry may also, or will also know what they have to do, because they are accountable to us, the three arms of government. Because if you look at the Constitution, sovereignty resides in us, the people. The sovereign will of the people rules. So they are there representing us. So we can only hold them accountable if we have adequate information about their operations. So if we better understand them, then we can hold them accountable, and we can also have a healthy debate as to the way forward. That's mainly the purpose.
Joyce, I've always argued that because of the number of illiterate people in Ghana, it should be a state mandate that maybe between 12 and 12:30, whatever media platform, radio, should be given to the NCC to do an educational program, so that I can switch. Even if I switch, it's the same thing I'm going to hear everywhere, so that for the next 30 minutes, I get that education, whether I like it or not, until we bring human capacity to a stage. Now, we see that Because as relevant as this topic is, you now have to go back down there and, give it to people down there. But it then becomes difficult because you probably have just 1 hour to really preach and understand the three arms of government and the role and everything within maybe 2-3 hours and go. How are you going to do that? You are a communication expert.
Yes. If you look at the work, actually, the NCCE, every year we work around a theme. Mm-hmm. And this year, our theme was strengthening the pillars of our democracy. So all our activities over on this theme. And the first and second quarters, the district offices, the regional offices, they have been educating the populace about the three arms of government. So as a way of rounding up our activities, but we needed to also get the views of other people from the arms itself for them to tell us what they do and their interplay and everything. So we got them, and then we really got insight into the work that they do. And as I said, wherever we do education, we do it in the language that is prevalent in that community so that people will get to understand whatever we are doing. So if we get, as you say, a specific time within the day to do education, all the better. Because the more people hear, the more they get used to, the more they get to understand. And I think when we do that, we can churn out our responsible citizens who know what they need to do at any point in time.
I'm going to take a break here. Then when I come back, we have this culture where, so far as the guy is coming to run for an MP, well, I want my bag of rice, I want my oil, I want my T-shirt, and then we go through all this. So basically, we collect our hospital and our roads, everything before the guy becomes the minister. By the time he becomes minister, he has nothing else to give you because he's already given it to you. How are we going to educate citizenry to say, listen, your thumb is more powerful than that 5, 10, 20 city statue? Thank you very much for staying, and we're getting educated by the NCCE. And just before we went on the break, since we are looking at balancing powers between the three arms of government, and we all know the legislature, those in the MP side, and the way they campaign, and the way we as citizens demand from them. I saw a sign in the village near mine that says, no T-shirts, no votes. Can you imagine? So I'm sure in this case, there should be an NCC officer to go and tell whatever chief or Obusuapenyin there to say, look, you are just signing your death warrant. What do you mean no T-shirt, no vote? So, that's where I find the challenge for you. So in this case, what role would you play?
Yes, we always tell them that we need to vote according to our conscience. We shouldn't allow people to buy us. Because if you sell your conscience, then you have no power. You don't even have the moral justification to hold a person accountable because already the person has paid you for the vote. So if the person is doing something that is not right, you can't even comment on it. You can't hold the person accountable. So always we should look at what we want the people to do for us and vote for people who can really do what we want. Certainly we'll be having these assembly elections, and according to the EC, to come next February. And we know the district are the development authority in the district, and they are supposed to make sure that the social amenities that we need in the development in the district, they are in charge. And people tell you, since I voted for my assemblyman, I've not seen the person. But the assemblyman is supposed to have close contacts with the electorate.
Personal.
That is the work of the district.
First name basis.
Yes. Before the person goes for an assembly meeting, you have to contact the people in your electoral area to find out their issues, what is important to them, what they need to know, what they want, even in the electoral area. Then you carry this information to the assembly. This is what my people want. Then after that, the deliberations, you have to meet your electoral area and then tell the people what transpired at the assembly. But here we are, you voted for somebody, and the person you have not seen for 4 years. Your drains are choked, the person will not even help you to have even communal labor to use the people in the electoral area to solve that issue. And then 4 years down the lane, the person comes, gives you some money, vote for me again. You have sold your vote. So whatever the person does, you cannot even complain. So what we are saying is that, yes, you have voted for somebody, you haven't seen anything. Must you continue to vote for the same person? What do you really want to see?
Maybe he's the only one belonging to that party.
No, we are not. Assembly election is non-partisan. You vote for the person.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is non-partisan.
Only on paper.
You vote for that person as an individual who comes to campaign house to house and from door to door. So if you have voted for one person and he didn't represent you at the assembly, you didn't really, maybe you wanted a school building and the person, they gave you maybe a place of convenience. Maybe you didn't need that one. So for that matter, you are not patronizing.
Mm-hmm.
So the person is not serving your interest. So you vote for somebody who will serve your interest. So when we come to the case of an MP, as we are saying, in 2016, you tell me when you voted you have not seen the MP, and the person comes back 4 years later to give you some money, vote for me again. I mean, you just have to read in between the lines and know that, no, this person is going to repeat that same behavior. So why don't I vote for somebody I know? Maybe you are living in the constituency with somebody. You know that this person represents your interest, can come back to you, discuss issues with you and all that. But because the person is not giving you money, you are not going to vote to elect that person to represent your interests. Money is not everything. So when it gets to elections, they should not follow money. You must get people who will serve your interests.
So, I want to, two questions. In the rural areas, is there more trust between the NCC and the rural folk? Because there's not that much in the urban areas. I'm wondering if in the rural areas, they would listen to you if you come and talk to them. That's one. And then two, I want you to find out, like there's somebody who's a minister and the same person is an MP. So he's, playing double game. So he sits in cabinet, decides it, and then when the matter comes to parliament, he says, should I vote or should I not vote? What do you were there when this thing came. So the balancing powers. But I want you to start with, is there trust between the rural folk and NCCE? And then let's see what the balancing powers work like.
The trust is there. But you see, you cannot have everybody doing the same thing. Because we have this beautiful diversity. People have their own, they are entitled to their own opinion. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that even though in the media we have seen cases of mistrust from people against the commission, we equally have people across political divide who respect the NCC so much. I tell you. See, I can mention names of people who trust us and who will stop what somebody like Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. I need to mention him. Look, he was in Kumasi. He said this program, he won't miss it. He flew in just to attend the program and go back. You think if he did not trust us, he would have come here? Just, fly in here at a cost and go back? No. You see, and we have many more across political divide who trust us and who take our work serious. In 2008, we did a study about issues of concern to the voter, and we made it public. We're taken on by some people to the extent that we were not we were not conforming to our mandate. We're going overboard. But when the elections results came out, we're vindicated. It means that we are the most important institution that can coordinate public opinion and put it to the fore. So the trust, we can't have everybody trusting us. Those who trust us know, and there is that history that I have just mentioned, that we can be trusted. Down there in the communities, I can tell you that it's far better. In many of the rural communities where public institutions and politicians are not very prominent in terms of their physical presence, the NCC remains one of the key institutions for consultation by community leaders. And it is there. If you look at even the political parties, We are the only organization who have been able to bring people from across political divide together on a single platform in all the districts, and in fact, in many of the constituencies. Inter-party dialogue committees. And we put Nananum, for instance, and put the political parties together on that platform to help us, you know, drive the political process at that level, to make sure that there is decency, to even make sure that even if the political leadership at the top is goofing, we will say, yes, you are goofing. We will listen to you, we will do the right thing. See, so the trust, I will not say that we don't have it. We have the trust, but as a human institution, we have those, and many of them are naive, I can tell you. Somebody some time ago said on one of the radio networks that the NCC is a vampire institution, sucking the blood of Ghanaians and must be scrapped. That person is so naive. He doesn't even know any of us. He can't even mention the commission. You say National Commission on Civic Education. That person here is a lawyer. And if you know the Constitution well, if you mention National Commission on Civic Education, you are wrong. The Constitution says National Commission for Civic Education. So the trust we have, we can't say we have absolute trust. Of course, we have challenges, but the challenges do not overweigh the kind of trust and confidence that we have.
Balancing of the powers. Now we have MPs who are ministers. How then do one balance a power like that? Can you come from cabinet, come to parliament and say, no, I think it was a bad idea, I'll vote against it?
Nana, I think that it's about our conscience. And I think today Justice Crabb made it clear. It's about our conscience.
But do we have conscience?
We must have it. If nothing pricks you when you are going wrong, then your human part, you are losing it to your animal part.
Once upon a time, you know, there were people in Akan families who would travel to Benin to go and get juju just so that shame will never come upon their family. They would travel for miles. They didn't want money, anything, just so that shame would never come upon them or any of them. That's how much they fear. But today we glorify shame. Somebody comes, he's a drug addict or comes from prison, and you know people are not even, they're not shy. They will, you know, bring him in the open and go and meet him, and you know, we've lost shame. So we don't have conscience anymore.
It's about the erosion of some of our values. This, what you said, even reminds me when in the past in your own house your neighbor has a fruit, say mango, and they bear fruits over the wall into your compound, and they are ripe. You won't touch them. Even when they fall in your compound, you collect them and send them to the owner. So the erosion of these values must be a matter of concern to us. But all is not lost. I think the youth are there. And this is where we want to concentrate our efforts, the NCC, that we need to get the youth, the children coming up, to come up to that orientation so that they will even be able to prompt their parents that, hey, daddy, hey, mommy, this thing you are doing is wrong. Now look, my nephew tells me that they were in a trotro, and somebody just took water and dropped the wrapper. And he reprimanded the one that, hey, why do you do that? Do you know that people on board that vehicle supported that person against my nephew?
Wow.
They supported him. You, this little kid, you query such an elderly person. But there is going to come a time where the kids will have to query us. That is, if our project, the project that the NCC has to really nurture the kids to come to that stage, if it works for us, then those of us who have gotten to this level, who do not have, whose conscience cannot prick us, we will be called to order by little ones, by little kids.
Joyce, in the absence of our conscience, we have to have some system in place that forces us to either have conscience or not to go above what we are mandated or not mandated to do. So what's the NCC going to do to help us? Probably educate or agitate the masses to say, look, we don't agree with this thing anymore. Put in this clause to check things. What's the way forward? Because if you leave it to their conscience, it's free for all.
Yeah, I must say people must have conscience, and also people should look at our values that we are losing. We must look at our integrity. If anybody is put in a place of trust, you must make sure you do the right thing. I think what is wrong, and we must all accept so that we can do the right thing and then move forward. And I want to talk a bit about the trust. NCCE, I think we are trusted wherever across the country. Wherever we go, people listen to us because we give them civic education based on the Constitution and other critical national issues. And I'll keep on saying that people should trust us because we have existed over the years. And if you look at the history of this country, this is the first time we've had a constitution that has prevailed for about 22 years without interruption. It is the work of Ghanaians in generality and the whole of everybody. We have achieved this feast. And it is because of also the civic education that we carry out. So we are asking that, yes, the NCCE is a state institution. So no individual should think that, oh, by your comments you are trying to run the institution down. You are running the state down because it's for all of us, not the human beings in the commission. But think about the state, think about the country. People should continue. Wherever we go, people should listen and be law-abiding and make sure that they also perform their part as responsible citizens.
Something just occurred to me. I mean, you're saying state institution. Yeah. The state has a massive TV station and massive radio station. Yes. So you should have access to it.
Yes. We have access in certain areas. For instance, if you go to the districts and the regional capitals, we have some of the stations, we have free airtime that they go to do civic education on a weekly, some of them even on the daily basis. Some have information centers, some have districts. Even the private stations, they also give us free airtime where we do civic education on a weekly or on a daily basis across the country. And we are asking that we should continue to do more, not until we all become civic-minded, we all perform our civic responsibility, we are able to engage and dialogue on issues and reach amicable solutions that is acceptable to everybody. We will continue to need airtime, and people should give us a space to make sure that we engage the public in that direction.
That's important. Sammy, another thing that so the Ghanaian president has got imperial powers. I mean, I think if you take God out of this universe, he's very close to God. He chooses the IGP, chooses Chief Justice, Shiraj Bose, some members of the Council of State. I mean, he chooses practically every human being that's going to work for him. Pick 5 DCs for every district. You select which one you want. You know, that's just too much powers for one person. I don't blame him. It's the system he's found. So what is the best way forward? That he exercises the same power carefully, or we change the system?
Thank you, Nana. I think that I don't see it as too much power in the hands of the president. Because if you look at the Constitution, many of the appointments that the president had to make, he needs to consult. Sometimes he needs even the advice of some other institutions. It means that there's a check on him, okay? So if we need to do more, I hear people are talking about transparency, about the outcome of the advice or consultation that he makes. But I don't think he wields absolute power over not only this president, but all the president, the kind of provision that we have. And as you say, that is the system that we adopted for ourselves. It was not imposed. We adopted it for ourselves. And if the president violates, he himself can be impeached. The president can be removed. The Constitution makes provision.
The president always has a majority in the parliament, and the parliament has proven from history that they will never vote, you know, for what the minority proposes. It's never happened. Not in our lifetime. Maybe when your nephew who reprimanded the adult grows up, but in our lifetime, no.
But Nana, you see the what do you call it? The variance between the majority and the minority in Parliament, and you see how over the years the kind of it's getting closer and closer. It tells you something. People out there, in the recent past 2 elections or so, something emerged, says skirt and blouse.
Yes, people vote for the
Somebody goes to vote for the president and votes against the president's candidate for the member of parliament. Why? You see, there's a certain kind of awareness that is emerging, which we should not kill, we should allow to grow. I think that we shouldn't unduly disturb the system we have put in place. Justice Crabb today said that we cannot put everything in the Constitution, and I tend to agree with him. We must have a framework that will allow us as a people to have a certain room to operate that will not put us into an iron jacket system. And that we can do if we have a very good frame. And Justice Crabb also alluded to the fact that Great Britain doesn't have a written constitution. And they are running their democracy smoothly. You talk about people, ministers sitting in Parliament, or the ministers, all the members of Parliament in Britain, all the ministers are members of Parliament, okay? And we don't have all our members of Parliament as ministers. So, you see, I believe strongly that if we have a leader who wants to be evil, if we even have the Holy Bible as our constitution, he will do evil. So we, the people, in whom the sovereignty of the nation resides, in choosing a leader for this country, we ought not to toy with the process at all. We need to participate actively in that process and ask ourselves whether we should always be driven by our political leanings. Because I'm for Party A, if Party A has a candidate who relatively is not better than the other candidate, do I go? So that skirt and blouse thing that is coming up, I would not say it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. And so the president, who is a good person who has been put there, I believe, will not abuse his powers. And if his powers are abused, he can't be impeached.
I'm going to take a break here, and then when I come back, you know, we've made reference to the UK. They have, what, about 99% literacy rate. Here we are with about, what, 57%. And even the 57%, 56 out of them are functional illiterate. They went through school but came out with nothing. Can we still have that freedom without those iron jackets and still get to our destination? Stay tuned. Thank you very much for staying. We are trying to balance the 3 arms of government. But after we've balanced it, even you as a citizen should know what role you play in it. But here we are, some or majority of the citizens have missed the opportunity of a good education. Not because they're necessarily dumb. There was no school in the area, daddy was poor, uncle was poor, so they've turned up illiterate. There are some who were able to go to school, but the school was so hopeless that they turned up out of school, and still they were probably even better off staying with grandma than going to school. And they all now end up at the NCCE waiting for some positive information as to how to become good citizens. So if we don't have iron jackets to say, listen, wake up at 6 and sleep at 9, or don't do this and don't do that, and just leave this individual that go out there and do your best. It's chaos, and that's what I think we are experiencing, a lot of chaos.
Yes, a lot of chaos, and which I think is not the best. But the issue is that people are not trying to conform to norms, and that is a problem that we have. For instance, if you take driving, we have rules, driving. We have rules, we have regulations.
Does it fall under your jurisdiction or DVLA? I mean, to tell people to be decent on the road, does it come under your jurisdiction?
In fact, I would say DVLA, we have Road Safety Commission and all that. But there are some of the institutions, they are not at the grassroots. So we collaborate with them, and then we do the general education. So as we are saying, you tell people, you see people crossing the traffic when it is red. But I know when you are driving is the amber, is you prepare to stop. It is rather that people speed to make sure that they beat the red light and people walk through it, which I think it is wrong. And let us all shame the wrong things so we can do the right thing. And now if somebody does something wrong and you are rather correcting, you get people who go against you, which I think it is not good. As a nation, as a people, we must all do the right thing. That will help us. Because the same Ghanaians who are not able to live in Ghana, in our local balance, but when they go outside this country, they are able to live. They are able to obey the rules and regulations
all the street
here.
Rules.
All the street rules, they are able to obey them. But when we come to our own country, why is it that we cannot just restrain ourselves and live according to the rules that we have in this country? It is indiscipline, and it's affecting all of us. So it is time we all put our acts right and make sure that we name and shame the wrong things that people are doing, and then we do the right thing. I think when we do it, it will help all of us.
I mean, to add to that, I mean, there's a borough in London called Tottenham, and the council responsible for Tottenham absolutely love the Ghanaians there because they are peace-loving, they will never cause a problem, everything. I mean, they just love to have Ghanaian tenants rather than Jamaicans or Nigerians. And they just love the Ghanaians. And these are the same Ghanaians that we are sitting here complaining that, oh, they're too law-abiding and everywhere. But meanwhile, elsewhere, they can't have enough of them. You know, so maybe Justice Crabbe is a session, we haven't gotten there yet. Yes, there will be a time where we need that latitude to think for ourselves, but for now, because of our own denying of our citizens good opportunity for a good education, maybe we need to have that straight jacket.
But no, but you see, Justice Crabbe, his position, I support it. He thinks that Constitution is a frame. That was his point. So the framework must be strong.
But our Constitution is based on a society that's educated.
Don't worry. After putting the frame, you put the flesh. So after the Constitution, which is the foundation, you come to legislation. So you can use legislation to do many of the things, but not necessarily putting everything into the Constitution. Because if you pick the American Constitution and pick our Constitution, ours is fatter. Ours is more, voluminous than the American Constitution. You see, so that's Justice Crabbe's position. Once you make it a constitutional issue, you make everything constitutional issue, then when it doesn't work out well for you, what do? You go for amendment, you go for review, what do? So if you have a frame that will allow for, further legislation to reinforce the frame that you have, then yes, you have a very good system. That is position, and I think we need to take a good look at his position. And I mean, it fits into what your position is. Because, for instance, I have a big issue with the way we build in this country. If you go to many of the new areas, many of the, it's chaotic. Nana, it's chaotic.
I'm saying if you speak further, all the chiefs will be in
Nana,
selling land willingly.
Nana, I will do. I will do. And they also sell the roads, the open spaces. So you realize we are building a big slum as a country. And, if we are not careful, because if you are attacked in the night by robbers and you call the police and they have to come and they don't have access route, they can't get you. If the waste management, Zoom Lion, wants to come to your place and pick up the garbage, there's no access road. So what happens to us? Chaos. There is fire. And you want fire service. You call them. And you see, we don't seem to be, and it's all over. And these things can be dealt with by legislation. So Justice Crabbe is saying that you don't have to put all those things to the Constitution. No. Let's give a good frame. And then let's use legislation to, so our skeleton, our frame, we put good flesh by taking giving ourselves a very good diet, and we get a very good human being
The
standing.
judiciary is also one of the arms of the government.
Yeah.
I think they are fairly independent, but very expensive and out of reach of the ordinary man. I mean, if you are an average Joe who has a 1 acre cassava farm, you don't think of hiring a lawyer or, it's out of your question. First of all, the nearest court may be, well above your pocket change in terms of transportation to get there. And when you get there, you can't get a lawyer. I mean, so what can we do?
And I think that access to justice is crucial to our democracy. And I agree with you that our system is a bit expensive. Now, the legal aid scheme, we need to look at it.
They don't get the funding, so
maybe,
they don't even want to take up the cases.
We need to look at it. If you see the number of people who may even end up in remand because they do not have access to, representation, illegal representation or what? Yes, it's sometimes. And I remember the Chief Justice or Attorney General even came up with a project, Justice for All, just to make sure that those there are those people in remand custody whose cases have not been heard. They are just there. Sometimes they don't have access to a lawyer or the policeman who is dealing with the case is on transfer.
How can the NCC empower the citizen? Because sometimes if you know your rights and you're fairly empowered, maybe you can argue your way out a bit. So how do you come in to empower the citizen to say, listen, this is not on, and therefore maybe approach that quarters or approach this quarters?
Yeah, in fact, when we do education, like we do human rights, when your rights are trampled upon, where you go. So we also educate people on the need to access justice through the legal aid scheme. But I think if you look at the judiciary, they also are advocating for ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, which they have it at the regional and some of the magistrate court and all that, so that people will not opt for litigation, which is very expensive, we all know. But if they have other alternatives that they can have their disputes resolved, I think it's better. So we do education on some of these things also.
And cheaper and
quicker.
quicker.
That is cheaper and quicker. Because as for litigation, it's very expensive.
And quicker.
Yeah.
Sally, so what was the conclusion? I mean, there were, you had Justice VC Crab, you had Professor Michael Kay, you had Dr. Dominic Ayin. I mean, these are thespians in, in all legal aspects. What was the general conclusion in balancing powers between these three arms?
Yes, for me, the conclusion is that yes, the three arms of government, there is a need for collaboration. Practically, we cannot say the three must be in their toolbox compartments. At some point, you definitely need a kind of collaboration. Is it cooperation or that's it? But we as much as possible should avoid interference and putting excessive powers in one particular one. And that's where I said that the president himself, if you look at our constitution, what he has is not even excessive because he can't do it alone. He has to consult or go for advice from elsewhere. If we are able to cooperate and move forward this way, and what is coming up with the review of our constitution, I believe many of the challenging areas will be dealt with, and we will have quite a better system to run.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Joyce Afutu. Thank you very much, Samuel Kuamwa. And thank you very much for watching. And as I say, tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Thank you.